Welcome everyone, welcome to my studio here at home. Well, if you can see this, then you've arrived, so well done. Let's get started. Now we're going to be using this video technology along with Zoom and the WhatsApp channels so that we can keep in touch, and also obviously our website. So let's use all of those to keep in touch and work. And we've just met on Zoom, and that was really helpful to get things started and get a warm-up exercise underway. So week one, here we are, and we're going to start with the theme architectural detail. Now, why this choice of subject? Well, drawing. We're going to be drawing today, as we're going to be doing the next 2 weeks in different media, but it's a good starting point. It's a good revision of drawing practice today, and it embodies all the basic set of techniques. We're going to be looking primarily at line, creating shapes, creating scale, and then rendering, making form, putting all those things together, which you can then take forward and develop further, perhaps even if there's an opportunity in your local environment, in your local locality, even or just around the house. Good. So we're really the built environment surrounds us. It's a really important starting point for artists, and as I said, we're going to be using lots of observational skills, and you can use our website to find those images which are specific to our particular detail. And I'm going to demo that today, as you know, and our detail is inspired by the Greeks and the Greek architecture, and primarily the entablature, this part of where the columns is supported, and the capital, in particular the capital. That's what I'm going to be drawing with you today. All sorts of inquiries into that form, investigation. It's that particular detail of the top of the capital, and a particular one in particular which we're going to be looking at today is the Corinthian capital. So, in preparation, we have our sketchbook. We might just already use that for our warm-up exercise. We've got our drawing media material, pencil and so on, graphite today, drawing board, and a decent piece of cartridge. So here we are. Got the sketchbook out, and yes, we need a selection of pencils, graphite pencils of different grades. Obviously you start with a HB. I've got a 2B, 4B. You might even go down to a sort of 6, 7B, who knows, a really soft pencil. We need a good eraser type. I've got this sort of plastic type, which I quite like because they're quite fine, and you can rub in to get detail. What else might we need? Well, it's not obligatory, but I would suggest, as you'll see in my demo, a ruler, straight edge. There's a set square, does the same sort of job, but you can also get perpendiculars with that, I'm sure you know. And I've got calipers. This is getting a little bit more technical, but the stonemasons, after all, the Greek stonemasons would have made their measurements with this and so forth. Don't need them. You might have a compass. That'll do the same job. Compass. We'll have a look at that in a moment. So they're the tools. And a little trick later. Might need a bit of tracing paper. Well, this isn't tracing paper. It's baking paper, baking parchment. Couldn't get any self-raising this morning. Oh dear. Without my biscuits or cake. Oh well. Let's get on with some drawing. So look, when we start to draw, we've already done some little warm-ups with Zoom. By the way, here, look, I've got here an illustration of the Doric order. I've done this sketch just prior to putting the video on. This is known as the Ionic sort of column capital. They're the columns, and you can see this is more ornate. Always remember Ionic because it's the eye. It's a symbol of the eye, isn't it? Always remember sort of there's the basic sort of form of capital Doric, then you go to the Ionic period, and the Corinthian, which we'll be sort of looking at in detail today, is the more stone ornate. This is the capital that I'm going to be working from, and you can find it on our website, as some others that you'll choose from, depending on which you're going to work from. So look, just to start a little bit of drawing with you this morning, always good. How are we going to get this drawn out. Look, so in my sketchbook I'm going to just do a simple shape like this, just to get the sort of brain power going, the sort of thinking around drawing. And I've got, it's not quite a rectangle, but I've made a proportional sort of sense. I'm getting to know the subject, and I've got a sort of rectangle shape here. And if I drop, then if I halve that, it's always good to halve it and got a line of axis, and I'll do that across there, and I found the centre. I found centre, haven't I? That's always good practice. Thinking around the relationships of your capital and its different characteristics. Each of you are going to have a different capital to work from. In my case here, I've got the top part of this, the flat part, which I think it calls the abacus, is at the top here to that sort of ratio. There's a lot going on through this mid-band, so it's like a third and a third. Because I've got half, I can find thirds. Loads going on there. That's where those sort of roundels are, these sort of this scrolling thing going on. There's a boss or something happening there, which is rather exciting. I've got to work that out too, and then all the busyness is here, but it's all symmetrical. There are three things happening here. It's the floral design. I believe it's the acanthus leaves were stylized by the Greek sculptors, and they're through this sort of area of the drawing and scale. And at this stage, you can make simple adjustments. You can just get to know your subject by making simple sort of calibrations. I'm using pencil here along that axis to the edges, and I can be a little bit more formal and actually use a compass to do that, and you can measure too. So quite quickly, just do a quick sort of sketch that just sort of familiarises yourself with the subject and its component parts. Because the next stage, everyone, the next stage is the drawing. You know, once we're settled and we know a little bit about our subject, either the Doric, Ionic, or the Corinthian. Corinthian is the demo today. It's the most elaborate, most demanding of the capitals. We're going to start the actual thing, the actual drawing. So I've already made a little presumption on that. Here it is, and I really would specify that, yes, find the centre of your sheet of paper. So it's A3, and our capital is going to be sort of A4, I suppose, going to sit nicely within the A3 format. And I think the first thing to do, certainly, is to create a vertical, a line of construction. And from that, you can get decide on the top of your capital, and roughly the bottom, where the bottom of that capital is. That's what you're going to be drawing out and shading and enjoying all that sort of structural elements of light and shade as you start to describe this amazing capital. Having your vertical and horizontals means you can then set about all the other points of reference in the work, in the subject, I should say. So we can begin to sort of map out the particular features. Now, in this case, there's this big scroll here, and I've sort of proportioned, as I said, about a third. It's in a relationship of thirds, and then the other 2/3 are where these acanthus leaves sit. And this is going to take a few minutes to develop, as it will you. You'll start to refer to this and draw this out in the same way. But one little trick here, because I think I know what you're thinking to yourselves. Oh my goodness, isn't it elaborate? Oh, I've got to draw this all over and across the other side. Well, why not do this? I mentioned my cake making cancellation because I couldn't get any flour. So I'm going to use my baking paper as a tracing paper, very simply. I've got here a tracing paper, the baking paper, and I'm going to lay that on the vertical line there, and I'm going to make a tracing. Once I'm happy with this side of the drawing, I get it perfected. I'm right-handed, as you can see, so it's the left side which I'll trace, da 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 da, and so on, so forth. I will then flip it over, and I'll be able to trace it accurately onto the other side, and hey presto, I'll have symmetry. How good is that? And a little trick with the tracing, something I always do, is I always use a coloured pencil. Coloured pencil on this side, so I always know where I've been drawing, and I can then flip over and I'll have my lines and I'll draw that out. So this stage, very important. Take a few minutes, certainly in the next sort of hour, to get this drawing completed, ready for the next stage. Okay, so stage 1 complete, everyone. You'll see here that I've drawn out in line the capital, the Corinthian capital from my choice of capitals on offer. This took an hour. I used that trick. Remember that trick I spoke about earlier? I drew off those. You can see the construction lines. I proportioned. May I just say that this is a little bit bigger than I intended, but it's good for demo. It can be a bit smaller. Within the A3 format can be A4 ideally, but you can see mine's a little bit bigger than that, but never mind, good for the demo. I used, as I said, construction, the axis, the centre line, very important. I then proportioned and began to draw freehand with my right hand from this centre line here, this side of the drawing. I got this sort of right, inverted commas. I got it as best I could. Then I employed that trick with the old baking paper. I traced, and a little trick there to trace with a softer pencil. Use a 4B or 3B to trace. Flip it over on that centre line and then trace through. Hey presto, you've got the symmetrical capital. And just another little addition, as I spoke earlier, just use a red so you know where you've been. So we've got now the line drawing prepared, and the next stage is the shading.